welcome to another episode of Leaders Lounge, a special series under Quantum Dialogues powered by NGenious Solutions. I'm your host Aarti at Quantum Dialogues. This series brings you fireside conversations with leaders who are shaping the future of technology business and purpose driven transformation. And today we are thrilled to have with us Trevor Gordon, the Chief Digital and Technology Officer at Save the Children UK. Trevor has had truly dynamic journey, having held leadership roles at Vodafone, Diageo, View Entertainment, and now heading digital transformation at one of the world's most recognized nonprofits. He's also featured in the Global CIO 100 and Computing's top 100 IT leaders in both 2024 and 2025. Well, this episode is a part of a broader initiative led by Nilesh Mehta, CEO at NGenious Solutions, whose upcoming book, Reinventing IT Operations, will feature exclusive insights from leaders like Trevor. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we shall begin. Our first topic, Trevor, is journey and purpose, right? From Diageo to Vodafone and now Save the Children. What has kept you motivated about across such diverse environments?
Awesome. Well, first off, Artie, really a pleasure to meet you. A great format, and thank you for the invite. And thank you for the kind words at the start. And I think, in terms of journey and purpose, I think, really, I've been very lucky. I've managed to work with some amazing brands across a number of sectors, and what keeps you motivated through that shift is the continual learning, the collaboration, and the chance to make that real difference and have that positive impact. I've had, as you've highlighted, a lot of roles with a lot of fantastic companies, but it's that chance to work, learn, and collaborate with great teams, with great people, and do some very positive things. And that really is not only my motivation through each shift, but it's that kind of continual learning on a daily basis. Yeah.
Good to understand about the journey, but Trevor would like to know, was there any turning point that really shaped your leadership style in the digital space?
It was. So I'm probably like a lot of traditional kind of leaders in, say, digital technology, data transformation. There's no one size fits all or no traditional story of starting in a way. And I actually started my career in kind of marketing and the commercial side. So I've kind of flipped around a bit. And it was probably in 2010, I was working at an international company called Auto Trader. And at the time, it was going through a digital transformation, moving from a traditional print magazine to a pure play digital business. And so I was working there as a kind of digital program director. And really part of that, it was the first time where I saw a real kind of connected, very clear vision and strategy, a very clear North Star. And it was just probably still one of the most powerful digital transformations I hark back to. You're working with such deep SMEs, really self-empowered teams, and everyone aligned to that clear vision, strategy, and purpose, and understanding what they were working to and how it helped deliver part of that. And then the other aspect was, very much so there was no egos. It was a very non-hierarchical business. Everyone was collaborating, working together. And it was also showed the power of digital transformation, that it just managed to change quite a traditional business into a global industry leading sector. So it showed the power of thinking of digital transformation as just something that you do to actually a way of working. And it really focused on that continual improvement and really how do you leverage digital disruptive technologies and data to do some fantastic things. So it was probably that one which really set the course for how I continue to lead over the last 15 years. Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing, Trevor. We'd also like to touch upon leading with vision. You've talked about combining the heart of charity with the mind of business. How has that influenced your decisions and leadership style?
No, great question. And so as you've highlighted, previous to Save the Children, I had spent 15 years in the private sector working for some great brands, but very commercially focused organizations. And if you think of, say, some of this traditional commercial aspects of around really focusing on the value, really focusing on that efficiency, really focusing on that kind of so what. And I had worked previously in a charity in the not-for-profit sector about 20 years ago. And if you look at how you measure impact in commercial terms, it could be EBITDA, it could be your net sales, it could be whatever growth metrics you use. It's obviously a different measure of how you're measuring that impact in terms of at Save the Children. And our mission is very much around increasing impact for children in the communities we serve. But part of that, say, the kind of heart of a charity, mind of a business, is really focusing on what's going to drive that value. Traditionally, we have a lot of people very passionate at trying to do lots and lots of things, and actually, less is more. What are we really trying to do? How can digital data technology and AI really enable that and make sure that we're looking at things which is really going to drive that value? So in terms of that, that's probably, I think, really helped shape that. So it's bringing some of that commercial mindset and intellect and applying that to a very driven charity wanting to do some great things. So it's that kind of transformation, both in terms of thinking, ways of working and delivering. And at the same time, making sure that when you talk about mind of a business, that you are delivering value as soon as you can. You are ensuring that that transformation is sticking and embedding and it's sustaining, and then looking at that diagnostic of how you continually improve it and enhance that, rather than just the project by project of moving from one thing to another. Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor, for sharing that as well.
Thank you.
Could you also share a recent decision or a moment that truly, reflects this philosophy?
Yeah. So a lot of last year we've done a lot around AI. And
Oh,
so the real aspect of that was to have a really solid business case value framework around it. So we were looking very much at personas, specific use cases, applications of that, and taking a real data-driven way to actually show is what we were doing in terms of the experimentation really driving that value. So it was really a case of what and both. And so there was that side as well, which is also as well as the change management aspect of it, making sure that the training, the awareness, the guidance on there, the continual kind of comms around this, that we were measuring how people were finding it, how they were using it, but also really showing that. So taking a very data-driven approach with a very solid business case value framework to demonstrate some of the work we were doing in that space. So that's probably a good example. Yeah.
thank you. Our next topic, Trevor, would be on AI and data strategy. We've spoken about turning AI from experimentation into something
Mm-hmm.
tangible and valuable. What practical challenges do you face while doing that in mission-driven organization like yours?
It's a really good question. And if you think about lots of times in, say, not-for-profit or international NGOs, you'll spend a lot of time having, kind of looking at having a lot of valid debates around, is AI the right thing to do? What does
Mhm.
responsible AI mean? How should we be looking at this? Without kind of, and one of the approaches that we've taken to that is there was everyone, a lot of, we have very passionate colleagues, a lot who have opinions about lots of things and very valid ones. And one of the things we wanted to show was to kind of break down some of the kind of, because obviously we're talking about a lot of work we do with children. So
Yes.
there is a lot around, AI is taking our job, or there's the risk from a cyber perspective, or around data breaches. And what some of the practical challenges that we had and that we faced was kind of demystifying some of this. So it was, when we talked about kind of bias in AI, what does that mean? When we talked about responsible AI, what does that mean? So we really tried to demystify it, some of it, and break it down. But kind of the real way in which we did that in terms of scaling is that focus on the so what. And this comes back down to, let's say, more of that commercial mindset. So really focused around human-centric design. What is the customer spirit throughout this? And I guess the other side of this is an AI is an enabler. You have to look at the service design with the human at the center. You just can't use AI to replace a poor process, experience, or service, but you have to redesign or design that process or service or journey with AI in mind. So that's kind of, say, some of the things we've looked at in experimentation. And as we move to scale, it's really
Mhm.
looking at that, because you just don't want to drop autonomous agentic AI into a poorly designed process. So it's very much human centric design right at the heart of it. Yeah.
That's nice to understand how AI, can be used from experimentation into something tangible and valuable. Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
again, Trevor. My next question would be, how do you balance innovation with ethics when deploying AI at scale?
Very good question. And so I mentioned some of the things we've done really on building foundations around training, guidance, specific use cases, and really around how we ensure that kind of that innovation within that is providing the guardrails for that experimentation. And part of this is really it's focusing on AI being that augmented intelligence, the human's still the most important part. And we do a lot of complex work. We work in humanitarian, we work in advocacy, we work in campaigning. So whilst we were looking at, say, some traditional use cases in the humanitarian sector, it was really giving the foundations and the basis for our teams to really then experiment and innovate. And what we saw through that is very clear on our guidance, our usage policy, and the ethical AI aspect, but at the same time, really trying to foster that culture of innovation. Yeah.
So we spoke about AI and data strategy. We also understood how it is about leading with vision. My next topic would be transformation and culture. What does transformation mean to you beyond technology?
Well, no, it's spot on in terms of the question because whilst I started off in, whilst I work in digital data technology and AI now, having worked for very commercial organizations, very much focused on the customer, very much focused on this experience, but the outcome, it has to be tech is an enabler. Tech is that enabler that really looks to drive how you actually move into new business models, how you add new features onto a product, how you enhance it in service, how you enhance an experience. And I mentioned earlier, in terms of transformation, it's the human-centric service design in all its components. And really it's around, looking at your customer experiences, your data flows, your journeys, your processes, all of those things together, which looks at those different aspects of service design. And in terms of transformation, where it's changed, I think, dramatically in the last few years, it's not a one and done. You just don't say, we're going to run a large enterprise scale transformation project, or we're done now, let's go back to what we're doing before. It's really that mindset of continuous improvement. So it's looking at tech as that enabler, but then it's building in that mindset of self-empowered teams really looking to kind of solve problems, look for improvements and enhancements. So it's getting that mindset and culture within the organization. Yeah,
That's good to know. Like they say, change is constant. So
it's
you are,
100%.
so Trevor, you've mentioned you successfully built mission-driven teams. How do you
Yeah.
nurture that kind of culture within the organization?
Well, if you look at, you talk about high performing mission driven teams, is you want to cultivate that mindset of innovation. You want to cultivate that kind of empowered teams and the real ability within their domain as an SME, they have the ability to make and influence lots of things. And probably with that, where I look at that is I use a phrase called compass rather than GPS, in that, as a leader, you want to set that direction, you want to set that vision, you want to set that overall kind of North Star. And but what you don't want to do is being the GPS of this is exactly step by step of how we get there. So I think in terms of that, very much I try and follow that mantra, compass by setting the general direction, the vision, rather than the GPS. You need to be there to support and empower your team. So it's that collaborating, that coaching, that mentoring and support. And yeah, so I always remind myself compass rather than GPS.
Well, thank you so much, Trevor, for sharing your sagacious thoughts with us. And I'd like to invite Nilesh Mehta. Like we said, we have a guest segment. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have Nilesh Mehta with us, CEO of NGenious Solutions and the author of the upcoming book, Reinventing IT Operations. Nilesh has been spearheading technology innovations across enterprise IT for nearly 2 decades, and he's capturing some of the most compelling leadership insights in his book. Over to you, Nilesh. A very warm welcome.
Arti, thank you so much for having me, Trevor. Pleasure to meet you. I wish I could have met you in person a couple of days ago in London, but hopefully the next time around, right? But I've been listening to you for the last few minutes over here. Amazing work. First of all, thank you for all that you do at Save the Children. It's an amazing organization that is doing so much good around the world, and we appreciate everything that you're doing over there. And from an IT perspective, whatever you can provide, I guess, is it's also very much appreciated. Um, as Aarti mentioned, I have taken on a new initiative myself to author a book called Reinventing IT Operations. And the objective of this book is to take the lessons learned from my personal experience over the last 2 decades working with, companies that are mid-sized to large enterprises, and identifying what larger organizations are able to implement in their organizations, build a successful playbook, and take it to the small and mid-sized organizations so they can benefit from that properly, right? And Trevor, I'm sure you can appreciate it coming from the corporate world where for profit is the whole goal over there, and coming into a non-profit, where you probably sometimes have funding issues and all those things. Like, how do I take that lessons learned and all those beautiful things I was doing in the corporate world where funding was probably not that much of an issue, and but coming into an organization saying, I want to achieve the same thing that I was doing there with the limited funds that I have over here, and how can I make that happen, probably, right? And the same issues that are faced by small and mid-sized companies probably around the world. So the objective is to take that lessons learned, convert into a playbook, and hopefully, the other organizations find that of benefit. So that's the process I'm looking to write over there. And my next couple of questions to you, if you don't mind, are going to be in that space where I can pick your brains and
Of
further on
course.
topic. Right. During some of your questions before, you mentioned about the fact that you approach it as a human-centric solution, but the culture change is also very important when you are trying to build solutions, especially by taking advantage of AI over here. Um, these are massive changes within that organization, right? Regardless of the size, whether you are a 500 people company or a 500,000 employee company, an initiative like this takes a lot of hard work. You're looking at all processes all over again and think about how can I do this better. You need buy-ins from people all the way up top and say, we want to do this as an organization, right? In your experience, having done this, what kind of time frame do you allow yourself? What kind of resources do you need from an IT perspective to go through this transformation journey? And how did then ultimately become the business enabler, saying, by doing X, Y, and Z steps, we increased or we optimized our business by X%, or if you have some certain criteria
I,
over there.
I think it's a really good point, and I think in any organization, whether it's for profit or not for profit, I think the pressure to show, the days of 2 to 3 to 4 year transformation programs with all the value at the end don't exist anymore. And if they do, they're probably designed in the wrong way, or maybe there's another a potential way. And exactly to your point is to show and demonstrate that value early on and consistently. And I think having the right partners in place in that, whatever size organization you have, you're not going to have the in-house capability to do that. So having trusted strategic partners where you can look at that through building those right sourcing models, that right operating model with the right capabilities and the right trusted partners to deliver that is absolutely key. And in my role, you're only as successful as your strategic delivery partners to help you actually do that. So from my perspective, that is a modern day CIO, CTO, CDO is not going to be successful without those right partners in place.
Just a quick follow-up, and I'm going to digress a little bit. Follow-up to that statement is,
Yeah.
what would be your criteria for identifying the right partners in that space? Like, what do you look for to say, well, I trust these partners because there's a dime a dozen out there?
I think in terms of that, who have bring that reliability in terms of delivery, that they have that ability to, they do what they say, they know what they don't know, they partner in the right way, but then they also bring that thought leadership in the different domain spaces in which they work. They are open to sharing ideas, they look to find solutions rather than the problems, and they really work to develop that. And it's about building relationships and working with those people. So I think in terms of that, the sourcing models I've always looked at, it's building those trusted partners within those domains. And and building those long-term effective relationships with them. Yeah.
That's an amazing answer, something that I think we live and breathe by on a day-to-day basis. But it's glad to hear that, when you were talking from the other side of the table, that's what you're thinking are the right qualities, and we appreciate that also. I'm going to take the next question over here. You said a lot of your process in the last year and a half was around human-centric approaches, right?
Yeah.
When we look at that stuff, how have you seen intelligent automation or self-service processes implemented, and how have they improved your internal teams collaboration and day-to-day processes for you over there?
I think it's a tremendously exciting time in technology, and everything around autonomous AI, agentic AI, anything that, data and analytics and automation and workflow. So I think in terms of in our current organization, we have quite a lot of legacy operational debt. We have a lot of manual processes, operations and aspects there. So there's almost not one area where it's the ability to actually look to see the opportunity of leveraging things, the intelligent automation, the workflow. And, we have a lot of fantastically talented people. They're spending too much of their time on let's say, the mundane tasks, and not looking at really how they can do. For example, our sales and marketing people, our fundraising and marketing people, they should be focused purely as much time as possible on storytelling and strategy, whereas a lot of the time is lifting and shifting data and doing things just to get it out the door. So any sector I've worked in, including not-for-profit, I think that's where the really exciting opportunity is now and over the next couple of years. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was, to be honest, on that same topic last week. I did a couple of demos using the Microsoft Dynamics Customer Insight solution over there, and see how a platform like that can be used by your sales and marketing people to automate their whole business process and build their customer journey, right? And it makes it so much simpler for them. So
we're a Microsoft house, and if you just look at how you leverage that potential aspect around your Azure backbone with Power Platform, Biz Apps, with using your data platform, and say some of the increasing the co-pilot, but then the kind of the autonomous agentic side of it is potentially really, really, really powerful. Yeah,
it is. It's going to be a game changer. But like you said, for that game changer, for technology to support you internally, we as people who are working in there have to change our mindset, right? That's the first step. We have to accept it that this is a future, and we have to start looking for ways of small bits and pieces where we can start taking advantage of the technology and then build it into a full-scale solution over there. But you also mentioned that it takes a lot of planning, strategy, governance, identifying your risks. There's a lot that needs to be done upfront before you can start enabling that switch and say, I'm going to start using AI.
Exactly.
It's not going to work that, right? Right. Before
100%.
you open that small door, you want to make sure that you covered everything properly, and you have your I's dotted and T's crossed, and then start thinking about AI from that perspective. So
Spot on, Nilesh. Yeah.
Amazing insights, something that at NGenious we promote and do on a daily basis. We are working with many customers like yourself over the years, and something that we look forward to as a game changer. And if we can contribute any manner, we hope to do that. But thank you so much for your insights. It has been amazing to hear from you. Aarti, back to you.
Thank you, and great to meet you as well, Nilesh, and look forward to meeting face to face at some point.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Trevor. And thank you, Nilesh, for such thoughtful responses. Truly a masterclass of leadership, innovation, and transformation. Now, let's shift gears for a fun segment before we sign off. Trevor will now go through some short, rapid fire, quick rounds.
Sure.
Candid answers. Okay. One tech trend you are most bullish on in 2025.
I think what myself and Nilesh were just talking about, which is and you mentioned as well earlier, it's the autonomous AI. I think it's going to be a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. One leadership mantra that never fails.
Probably one. It was an old boss that said to me, "In times of celebration, lead from the back. In times of crisis, lead from the front."
That's very well
And
said.
yeah, I think it's a good one to remember. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Some things CIOs need to stop doing immediately.
we need to stop using the phrase shadow IT, because the whole thing now is how do you democratize your tech and data. So the phrase shadow IT is a thing of the past.
All right. The next one is your ideal way to unwind after a long day.
Probably it's usually, depending where I am, usually not looking at a screen and trying to get outside and have some nature exercise. So it's kind of that really unplugging, is getting that fresh air or the gym or whatever. So for me, that's a great way of shutting down.
Definitely. One non-negotiable value you carry into every role.
I think in every role in any organization I've done is to be your true self, be authentic, bring your true self to work every day. Because I think it's really what makes great teams. It's what helps make great leaders, and it's that be authentic. You need to bring your true self to work every day, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor. I think we are done with the rapid fire. With that, all that also brings us to the end of this episode of Leaders Lounge. Thank you so much, Trevor, once again for sharing your journey, your strategies, and of course, your philosophy with us today. Your thoughts will not only help other digital leaders reflect on their own paths, but also contribute meaningfully to the upcoming book, Reinventing IT Operations.
Awesome. I look forward to reading it. And Artie and Nilesh, thank you very much for the session. Some really good discussion.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Once again, Aarti, for hosting the session. Trevor, for your insights. All right.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more such conversations with leaders driving real impact at the intersection of technology, business, and purpose. Well, this is Aarti signing
Thanks.
off. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you.